But first, it should never have reached the point it did today. Thankfully, Moira Deeming has been vindicated in the federal court simply for speaking at a rally defending women's rights. She was lumped in with neo-Nazis that gate-crashed the event despite having nothing to do with them. Now, that's not my view. That's the view of a federal court justice today. This sorry saga has been running since March last year, during which time Moira has been vilified. Today she came out on top though, Justice O'Callaghan, finding that on all 5 counts, it was in her favour. Now, through it all, she says she hasn't stopped fighting for the rights of women and girls, and she will not stop fighting for sex-based rights and the rights of parents too. And I'm very pleased to say that Moira Deeming joins me now in the studio. Well, thank you for your time. I mean, I know this has been just such a huge day and you've ridden a real emotional roller coaster. As you sat in the court this morning just after 10 o'clock, and everything's on the line, it's always everything been on the line for you. When the judge delivered his judgment, what were you thinking? What were you feeling?
I was in, I think, a bit of shock. It's been a traumatic 2 years and I just couldn't help but think, you know, this has just been a sham expulsion, a sham termination. It's done so much damage and for what? It was obviously all not true.
Yeah, the judge found, for people at home, the judge found that the grounds on which the Liberal Party leadership team put to the party room to expel you, that you were connected or associated with neo-Nazis, he found that all of that was false, that was defaming you, the circulation of the dossier, the movement of the motion. So if all of that's found to be untrue and false, it follows that you deserve to be returned to the party room. This has been a huge fight for your political career, but I also know that your family's good name and reputation, particularly that of your kids, has been a big part of this, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. I asked the party room in my speech, actually, that if they were so intent on ruining my political career, then could they at least please not do it with the smear of Nazism, because that would ruin the lives of my children as well. And obviously that request was not granted in the end, and I was expelled anyway. But it wasn't just me, obviously, that was hurt throughout all this. There were lots of women and all the attendees, and all of us who fight for this issue, in fact, were often have these things implied. Mm-hmm. It was pretty catastrophic to be named, you know, on a Liberal Party logo document like that, so it was extra catastrophic, I suppose. But what happened to me on this really public scale does happen to a lot of people, and I hope that this, is a win for all of us.
And we can see since October 7, I mean, this happened to you before October 7 happened, of course, but we can see now that there's no greater slur to throw at someone than to accuse them of being a neo-Nazi. I mean, it doesn't get worse than that. So people, I think, now have a better understanding of why you were so determined to clear your name.
Yes, and it was so upsetting, and I didn't say anything at the time because I didn't want to make it all about me, and I tried to not attract the circus show that was my case to that issue, as it has been going on the last 2 years. But it was so offensive, as I did see all real anti-Semitism in our society. It made me just feel sick that that's what I had been plastered with, and there was this obstinate refusal to retract it.
Liberals will say, well, people who want a change of government in Victoria, and there's plenty of them, will say, this is just terrible. Yet again, the Liberals have descended into infighting. They're famous for it in this state. Why couldn't this have all been sorted out behind closed doors? Now, I took people into a bit of confidence tonight and revealed that in February this year, you and your legal team offered John Pesutto to settle this case for about $100,000, I think was the payment and your costs. By then, there were no costs or very little legal costs, and it all would have gone away. And yet he was so pig-headed, he wouldn't even meet you at that level and forced you into court. And now we are where we are today.
It's my recollection that he never even acknowledged that letter, that offer.
the legal offer.
Yeah.
And you tried, didn't you, Moira, to keep this matter out of court for a long time?
Yes, right up until the very last moment, actually. We ended up having to pay someone to try and serve him because we couldn't get him to accept service on the last day.
Are you still proud to be a Liberal?
I am. I'm very wounded by everything that's happened. I am very grateful for the Liberals who stood with me. I know that there's been horrendous bullying of them for standing up for me, even though all they did was tell the truth. I know that you have been treated poorly. I know that ordinary members have been treated poorly. I know that it's not just in my party, in our party, that people have been treated poorly for standing up for me, and I'm so grateful that everyone did that for me.
Because you had a lot of colleagues who fronted the court for you, a lot of colleagues who have since had their pre-selections threatened.
Yes, that was horrendous. And I tried not to cause ongoing division. I tried to keep a bit of distance after asking for affidavits and things like that. But it's been terrible the way that power and influence and money have been used to try and avoid doing something very simple, which was to say, this was a mistake, these things are actually inaccurate, we're going to retract them, we're going to undo what we did, and we're all going to move on together. It could have been very simple, and instead multiple people's lives have been extremely traumatised, multiple people's careers are on the line, not just mine. And like I said before, to sit there in court and hear the judge confirm everything that I knew, which was that there was absolutely no basis for the things that were done, you just think, why?
When you're thrown in the fire like this, I mean, there's two choices to have, I suppose. You are made stronger by the fire, or it destroys you. I know it's early days from the judgment, I mean, but has this made you stronger in your resolve to stay in the parliament and to speak your mind?
Well, nothing was ever going to destroy me before I cleared my children's names. That was never going to happen. And I was a happy little teacher for many, many years, but there comes a point where you have to stand up, you have to get involved in something that you never thought you would. I never thought about politics before, personally, but it's unacceptable to me that child safeguards have been removed. It's unacceptable to me that women are not allowed to say no to men in our change rooms. That's just non-negotiable. And so I will absolutely not be having any kind of a breakdown or giving up at all until those things are done. I will have it when I'm good and ready.
I think they've awakened more than just a fire in you, Moira. I'm incredibly proud of you. And I know many of my viewers are, but I think people right around the country and overseas standing with you today applaud your dignity in what has been a pretty disgraceful episode in Victorian politics.
Thank you.